Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Elevate Her podcast. Today, I have with me Tiberius, who is the founder of Law of Attraction Live. The page you may already know because it has more than 2.4 million followers. Welcome, Tiberius.
Thank you for having me, Anna. I'm very happy with seeing what you're doing, very impressed, and I'm very honored to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure.
It's a beautiful place. I love
I
it.
know, I know. Thanks to Alex and the Saga Space. I would like to begin the conversation by asking you how would you define spirituality? Because nowadays it's so much noise around this word and many people confuse it. And I'm very curious to know your perception.
Well, I would define spirituality. Good question. I don't think it was in the in the list you sent me, but
No.
I would define spirituality as a personal connection with a higher power. It doesn't matter if it's, however you call it. It can be religious, it can be, you can have a spiritual connection with a tree, something that you feel you're connected with, something that maybe you cannot see, maybe you cannot feel. That's how I see it. I can connect with a flower, I can connect with through a prayer. It's uh, it's not something tangible, it's something that you just feel, and it's something that's yours.
Yeah. And how it can your life be better or worse by being spiritual or not? Because like when you say I'm spiritual or I'm not spiritual or I'm not into spirituality, it may be like I don't know, I don't believe in God or I don't believe in universe or
Okay.
something like that. How it improves your life by being like that?
I see spirituality as something that's part of life, as well, taking care of your body, or maybe having a career, or having interpersonal relationships, or having a family life. It's kind of a pillar for a sustained, happy, mm, purposeful, meaningful life. In a sense that, look, you know, there are people who go through a lot of tough things, and finding meaning in what they do, or praying to something, or saying, you know what, please help me, or there's that even that biblical quote. And I'm not a religious kind of a guy or a preacher, but there are biblical quotes that say faith can move mountains, right? And there are people that whenever things go wrong, they say, hey, God, please help me. Some people are like, hey, God, if you get me through this, I gotta go to church, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
do this, I'm gonna do that. But I do believe that there's a sense of invoking and accepting spiritual energy in our life. um, I work with spiritual energy. If I set a goal, if I set a plan for myself, I usually like to set some big projects, big goals. I use spirituality as a resource. I'm like, you know what, God, if I do my work, if I do my best, or universe, or however you want to call it, I know you're gonna help me. I don't know if it's real, right? But it helps me. It helps my psychology. It motivates me.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, as you said, your personal resource. Someone asked me the other day if I believe in faith, and
Okay.
I think it's an interesting question because it's like, do you believe or you don't believe in faith? How would you respond to that?
Well, I think faith is an energy, and it's a state of mind. You can go on the religious side. You can say, I have faith, but you have faith in what? Do you have faith in the dogmatic person that, we've learned that is God, and it's a man in the sky, and, whatever, if you're a bad person, is going to judge you and, punish you, or
Yeah.
whatever. Or do you believe in faith as a state of mind? You can have faith in you. You can have faith in humanity. You can have faith in your dream. There's a book that my mentor encouraged me to read a lot. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's like one of the best personal development books, self-help classic. And he says there that faith is the head chemist of the mind. And when you have this, you can have faith right now. If you invoke the feeling of faith, then your biochemistry changes. It puts yourself in in a certain vibration, a certain state. So it's discussable, you know. The just have faith and how is it in have faith and don't research. I don't believe in that, you know.
Okay.
We say in Romanian, crede și nu cerceta. I don't think that's I don't think that's healthy. I think you should have faith, but also do your research 10 times better than just, you know, not doing anything at all. Just do good research.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of researching.
Yeah, that's interesting as like put into words. But what if you lose faith in yourself and the universe? How can you take the power back? Because I think that if you lose the faith in yourself and in the process, you get either anxious, depressed.
Yeah.
You encounter different types of fears, and you just lose yourself in the process.
Well, I do think that no matter how positive you think and whatever, I think that things happen in life. It happens to the pros, it happens to the good people, it happens to the bad people. Things happen in life, and there come times in life when you just lose faith, no matter how personal developmentized you are. You know, you just say, why is this happening to me? Why me? You know, why did this have? Some people lose, you know, loved ones, or your business goes down. So I get messages from my page, hundreds of messages saying, you know, I've lost everything I've got in the pandemic. I don't know what to do. And I think that what's important, you know, when we go through a process of losing faith or losing ourselves, is to understand that we can get help. You know, we can get counseling, we can reach out to people that can be supportive, we can take time for ourselves and just take pressure off ourselves, and just kind of like, you know, start taking care of ourselves, because those processes can be hard. And building faith has a lot to do with the meaning you give to life, you know. I choose to believe in a set of things, and I choose to believe in a set of things because I think they help me have a good life. They might be real, they might be not.
What are the set of things?
Well, one of the things that I choose in is that choose to believe in that is that life will give me stuff that I can handle, and that eventually they're gonna teach me something, even if I don't know, if you know, if I don't find the reason, you know, right now. I choose to believe that if I am committed and if I do my work, the universe is gonna do its part. But I have to do my work first. I'm not a person that asks for, hey, universe, have my back, whatever. I'm like, you know what? You gave me a lot. I'm grateful. I'm gonna use what I have, and by using what I have, you're gonna do your part. So these are like motivational mechanisms for me. But yeah, people lose faith. I lost faith. I've had, you know, friends that lost their lives, and I was like, what's the deal with this? You know, we don't understand things. You know, half of the world is living in poverty, even more. You know, innocent people die. I'm not a big fan of the preachers that say, hey, just think positive and positive stuff's gonna happen in their life. Only positive things are gonna happen in your life. They're saying that because they grew up in a Western country where everything's nice, everything's beautiful, and you go out and you're like, oh wow, everything's beautiful. Look at how abundant the universe is. But that's not true. You know, there's bad and there's good, and there's you know, life and there's death, and there's all of that. So I think a person has a process of kind of like deciphering their life and understanding themselves and giving meaning to what they do. Yeah.
I love that, giving meaning to what you do. So taking this to the next question, what inspired you to start the Law of Attraction page?
Well, first of all, when I was 19, I came to Bucharest. And I'm from a small town, you know, grew up with a lot of, let's say, limiting beliefs. But also I built some very strong mental toughness, because I knew that if anything's going to happen in my life, it's up to me. So when I came to Bucharest, I got a job in video production, and my boss encouraged me to watch the movie The Secret. And that changed my life. And I eventually got into this business of personal development. And when I got to my first personal development event, I was 20. I went to London, and I had to like borrow money and stuff, and some interesting stuff happened to me, And I got there, and people were on Facebook. People were asking me, "Hey, what's your Facebook?" People from the event, and I was so hungry to get people's contacts. I'm like, "Oh my god!" Because in Romania, everyone thought I was crazy, like, "Hey," laughing at me and so on. And I tried getting information from people. And then everyone's like, "Why don't you just give me your Facebook?" I was like, "What's your phone? What's your email?" Like, no, are you on Facebook? I'm like, "What's Facebook?" It's like, "Well, Facebook, it's like social media." And I'm like, say, "Oh, it's like high five, right?" I'm like, "Okay." So I went and I got a Facebook account. And I never got on social media just to make friends or to, whatever, you consume social media. I got on social media because, first of all, I was talking to people that I admired. Then I wanted to connect with more people, like you do on LinkedIn now, more professionally. And the law of attraction page, and actually we have more communities, started when I was 21. I was in the United States. I was already working for my mentor, for Bob Proctor, in organizing events and in coaching and in sales. And one of the events we were hosting, we had one of the top internet marketers coming in and talking about marketing and paid advertising, and he was talking about Google advertising, and then he was talking about Facebook. He's like, Facebook sucks. Facebook is like, it's still just getting started, and yeah, advertising doesn't really work there, so don't bother. I'm like, okay, well, why don't I start some pages on Facebook? I initially started on Facebook, right? So why don't I start a page on Facebook? And I'm super passionate about this anyway. It's like I would just do everything I do in the personal development business. I do it because of passion. I would always do it for free. And I just started that. So I started it with a bit of a business mindset in itself, because I thought that it's gonna grow and it's new and it's gonna build a database in time, and then out of passion, and then Instagram happened. So maybe in 2014 or 15, I started on Instagram, and yeah.
So there are like 10 years since you started, or how much?
So I started with Facebook in 2011, and then Instagram maybe 5 years ago.
Oh wow, and you grew so much in
Yeah.
just 5 years. What's the secret, or what's the thing that got you to where you are today?
Well, it's from a Instagram page growth point.
I think it's both on the mindset and the way you put meaning to it, as you
Okay.
said, and also in the way of building a community that believes in what you're sharing.
Well, in the beginning, it didn't really start. It wasn't really professional at all. We were just posting stuff, and the setup on Facebook and Instagram was completely different back then, and people were liking a
Okay.
lot faster and easier than they do now, of course. But I just had a bit of a vision. I knew that, hey, look, I was already very well acquainted with the internet and internet marketing and affiliate marketing. We were managing huge databases for speakers in the US. And I just said, look, if we put a team together and if we have this like as a long-term project, it's going to grow in time. It's going to have a growth curve. So, I would say that Instagram, it took 3 years to grow to maybe a couple of 100,000 people, and then the next year grew to over 1 million, and then 2 million. So it had this spike, right? There's not a big secret. It was just a good time, and consistency. I never invested in paid advertising or things like that. It was very organic, but I wouldn't create a course saying, you know what, I'm gonna teach you how to create a 2.4 whatever
Yeah.
million page, because timing is important. And right now, it's not the same environment as it used to be. So I would just say long-term vision and just posting stuff consistently
And what
and
was the vision?
putting some heart. My vision is very simple. Like, I come from a place where I don't think things are possible for me. I always knew that I'm ambitious, I'm smart. That's why I came to Bucharest. That's why I got a job, because I wanted, and I got a job in video production because I thought, what, maybe I'm gonna meet some interesting people, in the media world. And if they see that I'm hardworking, and if they see that I'm loyal and ambitious, maybe I can climb up the ladder of success, whatever. So yeah, the vision was that when I saw that movie, The Secret, my boss told me to watch it. He says it's gonna change my life. He says if I understand those principles, I can just have whatever I want. That's pretty much how he told me. And I watched that and I was like, it's possible. I can actually do more with my life. I didn't think I can do a lot. I thought I can, I had ambitions and I think I was out of the crowd a bit, but it went to the next level because like, then I got Bob Proctor from the movie. He's huge in the business of personal development, and I got his audios, and he says like, you have to dream big, and you have to set big goals, and you have to set a goal that scares and excites you at the same time, and like, you shouldn't have a goal to have a car or to have a home. He said you can have a fleet of cars, you can have you can have whatever you want. I'm like, okay. He said you have to set a big goal. So I started setting big goals, and I created this page and these communities just because I want to bring a bit of potentiality to people, like, hey, it's possible. And if you look at the Law of Attraction Life page on Instagram, it's not of like a super sophisticated thing, but I do believe that it brings some positivity to people. And I think that, what? Sometimes we might have a crappy day. And if you have a crappy day, just one phone call or one message or something very simple can just give us that 1% that can help us make a good decision, that can have a bit of a compound effect that can eventually, make a positive change in our lives. So that's how I see it. Nothing complicated, nothing fancy, just, giving people a 1% of a boost or something that can help them.
I love that. It's just making people's lives better, but in a simple way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But you got to work with Bob Proctor, who is like the one of the biggest personalities in the self-development industries. How you managed to do that? Because you said you came to Bucharest and then you work for Bob Proctor in USA. Like,
Yeah.
it's so fast.
It happened very fast. So I came to Bucharest, and I didn't have a very good life, let's say. I was living in a crappy apartment. I was paying 40 euros a month, and my friend from my hometown, he was 1 year older, that invited me to stay with him. He was involved in some dubious businesses, and I didn't like that. And then he came to me and was like, "No, we're gonna partner together, and we're gonna make money." And I didn't like that. And we were sleeping in the same bed, and I had a lot of incentive. I just wanted, when I moved to Bucharest, I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of this apartment, this entourage, because it's not good. So then I got a job, and after I saw The Secret, I just started applying it for simple things. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna find a nice place. I'm gonna move to a nice place. I visualized that, I can't, and of course I started looking for places, and things started happening very well for me. And one day, I was at the studio I was working on, the video production studio, and I had a rule in that studio. When we weren't shooting, everyone in the studio was playing video games or doing whatever. And my thing in the studio was, hey, if I'm here, I'm gonna do something productive. I would mop the floors. I would just clean it up. I was super grateful for the job, by the way. And I started learning stuff, and boss liked me. My boss liked me, and he kind of like gave me, he encouraged me, like, hey, you know what, you can do more, you can be more, you can have more. And one day when I was at the studio, I think I was learning Photoshop or something, I'm not sure, and I get an email from Bob Proctor's company. He says, one of his programs is like a 90% discount, marketing thing, and like you get it, and like, it's a great program. I'm like, oh my God, it's discounted from $2,000 to $200. But $200 was half of my income, for the whole month. I'm like, oh my God. And I wanted to buy some stuff, some clothes and whatever. And then I'm like, oh, should I buy this program? Or like, should I do this? and as Romanians, we're not used to buy digital stuff. We just take it, But I'm like, I'm gonna buy it, you know. So I bought it, but because I like paid so much for it, and because I said, look, if personal development works, this is my hope. Like this program is my hope, you know. And I got into that program, and he starts telling you stuff, you know, principles and what to do. And one of the lessons was on goals. And he says you should set a goal that's so big, you have no idea how you're gonna get it, and it has to scare and excite you at the same time. And then you have to make a list or whatever. So I'm making a list, and while I'm making a list, I'm like, oh my God, I would love to be able to learn how to just, you know, teach this information to other people. And then I was like, I would love to have Bob Proctor come to Romania and teach to people here, you know. And then there's a voice in my head say, yeah, but yeah, it's impossible. And then I caught that. You know those limiting beliefs that are like very sneaky and invisible?
Yeah.
You know, I caught it. I'm like, that's what he's talking about. He's like, I'm like, this is my dream. This is my goal. And I wrote it on paper. Like, I'm going to be on stage with Bob Proctor in Romania. I'm going to work with Bob Proctor. Impossible. Like,
this is, in other words, put how you manifest a goal.
Yeah.
So for the people listening, just hear Tiberius out.
So I put it on paper, and I'm like, okay. And then he says, look, you got to make a decision, and you got to start doing anything you can with whatever you got. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. I'm like, okay. So what do I have? I didn't have anything. I was living in a dorm. That was next level for me. And I'm like, okay, Bob Proctor is coming to Romania. Now what do I have to do? Like, okay, well, I got to start looking for rooms. I'm going to start, you know, I started translating his stuff in Romanian, like super naive, you know. And I started emailing his company, like, Bob, Mr. Proctor, sir, you have to come to Romania. You have to save Romania. Like, we were communists, and like the people have a bad mentality here. Like, I was 20, you know. Like, and I thought like he was God, you know, like, writing to God, like, please. No one ever replied to me, by the way. And one day I was surfing.
For how long you just keep being consistent? Because I think this is an important part of just believing and keep going.
I just started doing that. In a sense, you know, he had a meditation thing in his program, and he would help you visualize what you want, and I would visualize what I wanted, like me being on stage with him. And then I would start just doing stuff. Whatever came to my mind. Okay, I'm going to write him an email today. I'm going to translate some stuff. I'm going to look for rooms. And then one day this happened, and this is very interesting because it kind of like happened like magic in a sense. I was surfing the internet, and I kind of like accidentally landed to a video contest. It was a Romanian video contest called Today in Romania After 30 or 20 years from the revolution. 20 years, I was 20 back then. And I went and said, wow, I work in video production, you know, interesting. Let's see what the young people, you know, are promoting here. And the videos were horrible in a sense that they were nice, but well done, but so negative. Like, Romania, it sucks, and like people on the street, and like bad buildings, and factories that were like left, you know. I'm like, no way. Like, I have to get into this contest, and I have to make a positive response, because I'm like, I wasn't in there there was a prize, but I just felt, you know, from my heart that I got to do something positive, because otherwise, you know, like, we cannot make a change with this mindset. So I got into the class, and I speak with my boss. Over the weekend, I got a camera. I took one of my friends from the dorm. I filmed him. I made a video, and I called it Parallel Worlds, and it's like Romania, how it was in communism, and how it is today. And I kind of like filmed him in parallel, you know, so how life was then and how life was here. And it was pretty nice, actually.
What year was that?
It's like 2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I enrolled in the contest maybe 3 hours before like the deadline, and I won first place. And they called me like, you won first place. You win like 500 euros, and we want to invite you to come to the International Film Festival at Cluj and whatever. We want to give you an award there. And
yeah.
And I'm like, can you just give me the money because I had a job to do in the weekend, and I didn't wanna. I wanted to go to my job. I would earn more money, you know. And like, no, please come. Like, we wanna award you. I wasn't vibing with being awarded and going to Cluj and whatever. But my boss says, you know what, you should go. It's a nice experience. You know, you go there. And it was nice for me because, you know, like, they put me in a nice hotel, and I went to different gatherings with the directors there, and it was for the first time in my life I went to a club with an open bar where you can like drink what you want, and like, I got wasted there with some like reporters, and it was actually very fun. But when I got there and they gave me the award money, I went to my laptop and I opened an email. It's like, Bob Proctor is coming to London. Now I knew that Bob Proctor is in the US, and I didn't know how I could get there, yet. And I also knew that he charges a lot for having him, come and speak to an event. He charges $50,000 a day plus
Okay.
first class tickets. So I had no idea how I was going to get it, but I kept doing my stuff. So I counted the money I had, and I had exactly the money to go and to attend that event in London. The ticket was like not the VIP ticket, back
Yeah.
of the room ticket was like 200 pounds or whatever, and I had the exact money to get the plane ticket. Never was out of my country till then, and very crappy hotel. So I got there,
With the money you got from the video contest.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I got there. I went to London, like, oh my God, I'm in London, and I got to Bob's event. And I wrote him a letter like, Bob, Mr. Proctor, you saved my life. Thank you so much. You have to come to Romania. And there's a lot of people in the room, and he doesn't usually interact with all the people because it's like too many people, And usually the VIP people that pay like 1,000, whatever, they get to spend more time with him. But I got a chance to give him the letter, and I was like, oh, I hope he answers my letter, or and he never like throughout the event he didn't acknowledge that I gave him the letter or whatever, but I was like very hopeful though. But this is what happened. So the event was like this: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. From Sunday evening, no, on Sunday morning there was a VIP breakfast with Bob Proctor, only with the people that paid the VIP tickets. So Saturday night, I'm in my crappy hotel room, kind of like debriefing myself on what I learned. And I'm talking to myself again. I'm like, oh my God, wouldn't it be beautiful to be in the VIP breakfast, Bob Proctor and whatever? Like,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be amazing, like, to be a VIP? And then there's a voice in my head again. It's like, look, didn't this guy just teach you on Friday and Saturday that you have infinite potential and you are the VIP of your life? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, you know what you have to do, right? I'm like, I'm not gonna crash. So I'm talking to myself, right? I'm like, I'm gonna crash the VIP breakfast. I'm just gonna go there and pretend I'm a VIP, and I'm gonna go there because I need to talk to this guy, right? So I'm like, okay. You can imagine how fearful I was because there's voices in my head that are gonna kick you out and you cannot do this. You're not allowed. You didn't pay for the ticket and whatever. I'm like, yeah. I said, look, if I'm gonna go there, I should spend some time and put together some really interesting questions that I didn't see in Bob Proctor's program and in the event that will give him the sense that I'm not just going there to hang out, like I'm a serious guy. So I did this. I spent like 2 hours, wrote down the question. In the morning, I woke up at 7 a.m. I was going to the conference room. I would meet with people from from the normal ticket place. I would meet them, there, and like, no, this is the VIP breakfast now. You have to come later. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. So I go there, and there's this big place where there's breakfast, and there's like a security guy in the entrance. But I go and I see Bob. He's there, maybe 30 meters away. I'm like, okay. So I get confident, and I just walk past, I didn't have a bracelet. I walk past and I go directly to him. He was putting some food in his plate. I'm like, Bob Proctor, sir. I'm like, I don't want to eat anything. I just I'm the guy who wrote you the letter. Yeah. And I just want to ask you a few questions. So please, if I can just stay somewhere in the corner, I'm not a VIP, but I don't want to. This is my only chance, please. He said, yeah, sure, sit down. And I sat down next to him. He invited me to sit down at his table, and I asked him some questions. And after that VIP breakfast, first of all, a lot of people came to me. I was like, "Hey, who are you? Maybe we can do some business. Maybe we can." I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Anything, whatever. Romania." And he's like, "Look," he's like, "there's a guy in the U.S. who's Romanian, and he wants to bring me to Romania." He's like, "I'm gonna give you the phone." Bob said, "I'm gonna give you the phone number of my lawyer." And he said, "Call my lawyer, and maybe you can get in touch with this guy." So I called Bob's lawyer, and he put me in touch with that guy. And that guy said, "Look, I'm planning to bring Bob to Romania in November." So this was June. So he said in November. It's like, but there's a lot of stuff to do, and we have to get some investors, and I need a project manager in Romania, and whatever. Like, I'm like, I'm the one that's gonna do it. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. So from June to November, in November we had the Bob Proctor in Romania event, and I was on stage with Bob in Romania, and that was part of my visualization. And after doing that, I got pretty close to Bob, and he invited me to become a franchisee of what he teaches. So in 2010, when I turned 21 on my birthday, I got certified from the U.S. to get to be able to teach Bob stuff. Another impossible dream, just to go to the U.S. for me was crazy. And then 6 months later, I got a chance to get into his coaching and inner circle team, whatever, also sales team. And he has like 1,000 more franchisees, but he has like a very small team, and that's another story.
For
But
another time.
yeah. But yeah, that's how I got there. It was magical in a sense, but it involved a lot of hard work and risking everything, and stress and whatever. Yeah. So that's
It's
how I got there.
I think the story is so inspiring, and for people listening as well. And so just to conclude, in a way, the story, what do you think were the main characteristics of you that got you there? It was like the hard work that you put in, because you had a goal, and so many people have goals nowadays, and they find it hard to reach them. And like the manifestation process, what's exactly what you did in the steps that conclude in that you manifested your dream?
I would say the most important thing was faith, in a sense that I said, look, I don't like my life right now. I'm like, and then you watch those speakers talk, and they, promise stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, if this is possible for me, I'm gonna do anything. Doesn't matter. Even if I sleep on the floor somewhere, I don't care. And I had a good advantage because I didn't really have a lot to lose. I was doing that, but I said I'm gonna do anything. I went to my boss, right, and this is even before even getting to know Bob in the U.S. In London actually. And I went to my boss, and my boss, because I was very proactive at work, he wanted to put me into film school and pay for it, and he said, like, in a few years you can manage my business. Like, would you like to do that? I'm like, yes, of course, because he saw potential in me. And I was like just doing Bob's meditations and doing all the things that I could figure out I could do, like I was translating stuff and
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But after a while, what happened is that I became extremely confident that something's gonna happen. Even if I didn't know how it's going to happen, I was super confident, to the degree that I went to my boss and I said, look, I cannot enroll in film school. I'm very grateful, but I'm gonna go in the US and work for Bob Proctor. And he said, that guy
What?
from the movie? I'm like, yeah. Like, how? Like, I don't know, but I bought his program, and he says, you have this step and visualize in the universe, and you gotta take risks, and you gotta. And he said, oh, don't do that. You're gonna lose. Then he started, putting his insecurities on me. He's like, no, you're gonna lose. They're gonna take your money. He's like, you're gonna get into a cult. But I just put everything I had in it. I just put everything I had in it. I was like a bit fanatical, I would say, but all my hope and faith and energy went there, and I think that helped me a lot. I think a lot of people want more stuff, but they're too afraid to let go of what they have. And if we talk about the law of attraction as a concept, the law of attraction works very well with the law, we call it the law of vacuum,
Okay.
which says that if you let go of things, nature or the universe has to put something there, like
Oh.
when you create a void,
Yeah.
that void needs to be filled with something. So if you want to have better relationship, but you're still holding to the toxic one because you're insecure, how do you think something else is going to happen? Or how do you think you're going to put yourself in a context where you have to pull out some resources from you to make some things happen? So yeah, if you want to make the law of attraction work very, very fast, start taking some risk, make some space, and then you're gonna be put in a circumstance where you're gonna see what your fears are, what your insecurities are, and if you work with them, and you can just see how your style is, when you can have a long-term plan, or you can just take crazy risks like I did. Depends on the person's psychological profile, but things are gonna happen, and I don't think there's a formula for everyone. I just don't think so. And I never preach this. I say, look, some people are like this and some people are like this. You figure out your thing. You create your own philosophy of life. Start reading books. Start watching podcasts and listening to podcasts. Start doing things. Work this brain, because it's just the most amazing, miraculous thing in the universe as far as we know it. And we have it. We all have it. But we just take it for granted and we don't use it. It's full of viruses in many cases.
Yeah, that's true. But you mentioned something very interesting because you said that when you want to attract something, you're gonna face the fears, and
Yeah.
I think this is the part where most people just stop and fail at succeeding for their dreams, because they encounter fears and they get to just face themselves and their darkest parts.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know what to do then, like
Okay.
what you've done when you encounter the fear and you just overcome it.
Well, first of all, fears are big, and they're strong. They're strong,
Yeah.
but they're not only strong, they're also sneaky, in a sense that sometimes fear just control us. They just point us out of our direction, and we don't even know it. There's a small thing happening in the head, and we're like, oh, and we get back to the comfort zone. But when we take a risk and like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it, then it becomes big and paralyzing. Like, oh, you become agitated. So I negotiate with my fears. I talk to myself. I put things in writing and say, you know what, okay, what fear am I having right now? Well, I'm fearing that I'm going to fail. Okay, then what's gonna happen if I fail? Well, not much. Well, you're gonna go back to Romania, or you're gonna, some people are gonna maybe say you're a failure, and then I'm like, I don't care about that so much. So I'm a very big fan of self-talk and just talking to yourself and just figuring out what's in your head, maybe putting it on paper and just start negotiating with it a bit. Say, okay, I'm scared right now. Maybe I shouldn't take this risk. Maybe I should go and start taking some small incremental, progress, maybe an action step that I can do. I think a lot of people, they try to do a lot very soon, very fast, like, I'm gonna change everything,
Especially young people.
Yeah, I'm gonna change everything, but
Me included.
yeah, well, it's good, and it's good when you're young and you have the ability to take risks, but you can also fall, like,
Yeah.
So if you take big risk, you want to make sure you would manage what might happen if you take a fall, because I consider myself a lucky person in a sense that, okay, I had my dream and goals and whatever, but I think some really interesting things came to me, like even going to that contest, and like I call that magic. The universe is magic, but for me it's also a bit of a luck, because it could have been 10 times harder. Maybe I didn't get a chance to directly meet with Bob or whatever, and I kept writing emails to them, and they thought I'm a crazy guy, and maybe after a while I would get discouraged. I don't know. So fear is something that we just manage, and there are ways to do it. Maybe you gotta work with a counselor. Maybe you gotta work with a therapist. Maybe you want to journal. Maybe it's there are a lot of ways to deal with them. My only advice for people is to study, is to research, is to find their way, because everyone has their own unique way of dealing with things. But just believe that it's possible. If you have this idea in your mind, say, look, it's possible. Look, I have a brain, and I'm in a place in the world where things are accessible to me, and I can attract resources, I can attract investors, I can learn, How many people say, you know what? For the next 6 months, I'm just gonna go out one time a week for 2 hours, and everything else, I'm gonna dedicate towards my goal. Because if I do this for 6 months, it's gonna change my life. Not a lot of people. And like, well, I'm gonna do an hour here and an hour there. And if someone calls like, hey, bro, you wanna go and have a beer? Like, yeah, okay, I'll do this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, how serious are you about changing yourself? I think that's another important factor. Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you keep being consistent with it? Because I think consistency, as you said, is the key in everything. And many people fail at being consistent with their dream or just taking action. And it's easy for 1 week or 1 month, but just to keep doing it for years and for years.
Yeah.
How do you?
I think it's important to have a dream. A dream in a sense that something that I have something between me and myself, in a sense. I'm like, you know what? I used to be a very messed up, broken person in all levels possible. And I just want to see what's possible for me, because I achieved some things in my life that I never thought they would be possible. And for me, it's like, you know what? I have to keep going further. And it reflects in different areas of life. I mean, in my business life, I know where I am, and I know what it takes to get to the top. So okay, maybe I'm in, let's say, in the top 25% of the industry with my business. Okay, well, to get into the top 10%, what I have to do is work hard, develop this skill, have this business mindset, have this consistency. It might take 2-3 years, and then I chunk it down and I say, okay, well, if I do this every day, then I'm going to get there. But it has to be something that you really want. It has to be something that you really want, in the sense that the money that happens and comes, or the temptations that come, you learn how to manage those, because they can be very, very attractive. When you have money, when you're financially independent, you can be like, you know what? I'm an online marketer. I have enough money to do whatever I want. I can just go and party all the time and whatever. But then you do that, and then you're like empty inside. Like, oh, I got to go and get some work done. And then you're like, oh my God, now I have to work a lot. And then you burn yourself out, and they're like, oh, I got to take a break because I don't have my passion anymore. And then you go and you party for 3 more months, and you mess yourself up, And like, balance is important. Knowing that we have, let's say, a party side, and knowing that we have a professional side, and then we have a spiritual side, and kind of like shooting some arrows in those directions are important. Like for example, for me right now, I'm very focused on business. So I'm focused on business, and I see business as like my the business I have, but I also see myself as what I do with my money, the investments I make, and so on. So right now, for me, the next couple of years, I'm maybe 80% focused on my business. That means that I don't go out as much. That means that maybe I meet 1 time or 2 times a week for a couple of hours with specific people that vibe with me, and that we like support and encourage each other.
I'm honored.
Oh, I am honored. And that means that, you know what? If I need to party, I'm gonna do that like once a month, not once every 3 days.
Okay.
Right? And there's stuff happening in my head, like, you're working too much, like your next 5 to 10 years are your last years of your youth and whatever. So you have to tackle these things as well, because there's temptations, but many times there are insecurities trying to get you to not go after your dreams, because it's hard. It's not easy,
Yeah.
It's not easy to do the studying and overcome your barriers that, I'm Romanian, my English is not the best, and like speaking is not the best, and the shyness and timidity. It's not easy. It's so much easier to say, you know what, I'm making some good money. I can pretend that I'm whatever, it's easy to pretend on social media nowadays that you're cool, you're an influencer, and I have all the resources to do that, But I'm like, you know what? Stay humble, Tiberius. You do your work, because when you are good enough, everything's gonna come, You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But what if you feel like you're not good enough, like in the beginning? When you're starting and you have like a very big dream and you want to do so many things and you feel like, no, I can't.
Well, accept that it's normal, accept that it's normal, but then just study yourself, Go and take some good psychology books. Go and read some good biographies, Go and read about all the amazing leaders in the past that made some amazing things, and just really look at their lives, because you know what's crazy? We go through school and they teach us about all these amazing people that changed the world, But for some strange reason, they kind of like impose that we're just common, ordinary people and we cannot achieve things, So you got to work with that. You got to say, you know what? Those people I learned about in school, Edison, Emerson, whatever, Gandhi, Buddha, those guys, if I look at their life, many of them started with less than I had. And you know what? They made some sacrifices and they made some stuff and they had a dream, and I can do the same. If you just have this idea in your head, you might feel not good enough, but you're gonna know that eventually you are the same as those guys and you have the potential. What's the problem? You have everything. And if you know that through study and commitment and just focusing, and saying no to some things and some frugality, things are gonna happen. And just having patience with yourself. Having patience is important. It might take 4 years. Some people are just. Some people are better than other people. In a sense that, you know what? I go to the gym, and it took me 4 years to be able to do a pull-up. Okay. Some people just can do pull-ups, But that's the thing. It's gonna take me more time. It's not a problem. I can do it. It's just gonna take me more time. What else do I have to do with my time? Well, go after my dream, or do whatever society tells me to do, but I don't like that,
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make me happy. So just believe it's possible. It's possible, It might take you 10 years. That's fine. Are you up for that? See, you have to be up for going after it for 10 years. Because, see, we have a bit of an ego thing attached to us. I want to do it fast, and I want to be good and the best. Because there's a part of me that wants to prove myself and that wants to get some attention and so on. And that's good. And it's normal in the beginning. After a while, you say, you know what? All I need is a room and some good food and my internet. And I'm just going to work in silence for as long as it takes for me to get to my dream. Mm-hmm. Because you get all the bullshit out and you kind of like, I'm like, this is what I want, and it becomes so personal, and you just you start knowing yourself as well, and it becomes your thing. Right now, I don't care about. Look, you go on Instagram and like there's Jay Shetty and there's like whatever 2 million followers and 3 million whatever, that other guy and there's a part of me that says, the marketer says, you know what, Tiberius, maybe you should have had 2 million followers by now, because, hey, if I would have sent people to my personal page, I would be like, hey, and then I put motivational quotes, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. The part of me that is honest, I'm like, no, I want to go and I want to study more than the other people, and I want to do more than the other people, and you know what, when I'm going to get out and I'm going to speak, they're going to say like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's not quoting from that book and that book. This guy's been through stuff in his life, and this guy studied, and this guy put his country on the map, and good for you, And then the followers and the fame and whatever is gonna come, if it matters.
Yeah. Yeah. And on this topic, how do you actually build the confidence in yourself that you are gonna make it, because it's easy to say it in a way, but it's harder to just have it in yourself. And what maybe resources and books you recommend to maybe build that?
First of all, I think you need some mental toughness. Mental toughness means sometimes being a bit stubborn, because there's gonna be insecurity coming from all over the place. See, you go from here and you go out, you go and take a walk, and the system and the society and everything is just trying to make you insecure.
Okay.
You see the billboards and like you should put this cream on to be beautiful, and you should wear this because then it's gonna see and eat this food that's crap and it's not
Yeah.
healthy and whatever. So you gotta understand that there's a bit of a fight between us and the outside environment, which tries to sell you stuff that's not gonna make you successful, first of all. And then you gotta have some mental toughness, because people are gonna come and say, "Hey, you cannot do it," and your friends are gonna do that, and everyone's gonna do that. Maybe many times.
Yeah.
A few people, one, two, three people, they're just gonna love you and support you no matter what, and they're gonna be, always supportive. But most people won't, in a sense. And mental toughness is important. Staying stubborn. And I would say you build confidence by taking things one step at a time. My story, like, that's a thing for another podcast. But look, I came, I, I was supposed to be the most broken person in the world. You don't understand. I was born in divorce. Very tough divorce. I was over 1 year and a bit in the hospital. I've been through 15 surgeries. I almost died. I've been in the emergency room for 2 weeks one time. I was extremely shy. I was very unconfident, and I never thought that a normal life would be possible for me. But I always had this thing in my head. I always have this, because see, when I was a kid, my whole environment was untrustful. I couldn't trust anyone. I couldn't trust my mom because I couldn't trust my dad. I couldn't trust anyone because everything around him was chaos, and everything just kind of like broke in my head. So I grew up in a sense knowing that I cannot trust people, but I have to find a way to survive by learning to make something with myself. I became my best bro. And then I think God gave me like a lot of bad stuff, but He also gave me just some stubbornness and some toughness, mental toughness. I'm like, I know I can do stuff. I know I can do it. I know, like I have this in my head. My mom never gave me a lot of resources because she didn't have any, but she always told me, "You're the smartest and you're the most beautiful boy." She loved me a lot. And I had this in my head, like I can do it, I can do it. And when I went to school, I was very good at school. That was a very important thing for me, because I went to school and I saw that I'm the top in the class and I could learn stuff faster than other people. So that gave me confidence that I can always be the best if I use my head. And from that to the person I am today and what I'm doing above that, I'm just taking things as they are. I'm doing things that are scaring me right now. But I know that
What scares you right now?
a lot of things. First of all, like I'm studying to become, let's say, a professional in the personal development world. I got a lot of certifications and all of that. But there's always stuff in my head saying, but English is your second language. You know what? But you don't have a good vocabulary. You know what? You never read when you were a kid. You know what? You like who's gonna listen to you? All of those things, they scare me. And being authentic and like all of that, just expressing myself. When I come from a world where I couldn't express myself, and I would get just bad and abuse and whatever every time I try to be myself, just to open up and to be that type of a person. I was the shyest guy in the room. So I always deal with that. Insecurities don't go away. See, I don't believe in that rule with 21 days to build a habit, or 30 days or whatever, and then it goes away. It's not true. Insecurities are always there waiting. They're there, all of them. Mine are there and yours are there. Okay? And what they're trying to do is to find the moment of weakness to tell us, who are you to come to a podcast, or who are you to host a podcast, or who are you? They're gonna figure out you're no good. They're always there. And that's why we need to have some good installed routines in our life to keep us in good shape. That means studying every day. That means eating correctly. That means being around good supportive people. Because otherwise they're gonna come, because like I said, you go outside and they're insecurities from everywhere, and
Yeah.
people trying to make you think that you're not good enough or beautiful enough or worthy enough or whatever, blah blah blah. That's complete bullshit. But we see it, and it's repeating itself, and it goes in
Yeah.
our subconscious mind. It's very powerful, but it's always recording. Our subconscious mind is like, hey, give me stuff, I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna program it, but we get so much stuff by default, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And but what are your daily practices in this keeping you focused and motivated and on your path?
I study a lot. I study a lot every hours. Every day I listen to podcasts, I read, I watch videos. I do this for hours. It's my thing. Learning is my thing. And I learn a lot of things that might be unrelated, but in a sense, I know that somehow in the future they're gonna, relate themselves. Like I would study programming and marketing and philosophy and coaching and, so I study all of this stuff gives me a lot of confidence, and then I have routines. I do the meditation. I get my sunlight. I do the Wim Hof breath work. I love staying in the cold. I came here in the t-shirt.
Yeah, I saw.
I haven't gotten a cold in 2 years. And I used to be a very sick person. And I'm frail. I connect with cool people. I have a lot of because I've been to so many events. I met a lot of people and we chat. That helps me a lot. I don't have a specific routine. I get up in the morning and I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna write my 10 goals. I don't have that. I like to flow with myself. I'm like, okay, but I do keep some things consistent every day. But studying would be the most important thing. And sometimes sometimes I study money, finances, investing, trading. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I study charts.
Okay.
I used to hate charts. I love charts now because now I understand it's so connected to human psychology. You know how to analyze a chart. You can look at behavior. It's very connected. Trading and human psychology is very well connected. And I don't want to do that. And sometimes I would say, you know what? I'm gonna play a video game. And when I'm playing a video game, I'm gonna put that lesson or that podcast or whatever. I'm gonna put it very out loud, so I can learn it.
Okay.
So in a sense, when I'm uncomfortable, I kind of like try to kind of like trick myself, like feed my, lazy boy as well. But also, it's about learning how to work with oneself. And I recommend the book Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh.
It's an amazing book. It's very simple. Just makes you understand that everything is approachable.
I just started it yesterday.
It's a great manual. It's a great. It has exercises. Like exercises are the most important thing in the book. If you do them, most people don't do the exercises. But taking time to do the exercises is important, because doing the exercise in itself is facing some fears. Because you know what happens. You read a book, and after a page, a couple of pages, 5 pages, a chapter is like, okay, now you have an exercise. And you look at the book and like, well, I'm gonna do it tomorrow, the exercise.
Yeah.
And then you skip, and then you read the next chapter. And it's nice to hear stuff or to read stuff. It's inspiring. You feel, wow, it's like, wow, everything is possible for me. But when it comes to doing the exercise, those fears that can be strong or also sneaky, they're gonna say, well, you should do it on Saturday, because then you're going to have your whole day for yourself and you're not distracted and you can meditate and get some sunlight, and then you're going to inspire and you're going to write so beautiful. Or, you're too tired right now, you should do it tomorrow, because when you're tired, you cannot think well. Those are those sneaky little fears that try to attack us,
Yeah.
So if you cannot feel confident enough to do one of those exercises, at least just write it down, the question from the whatever book, and write down 3 keywords.
Okay. Maybe
the exercise says, write down a page of your ideal life, whatever, in the present tense. Whatever. That's too much. And I say, okay, take that exercise and write down 5 words. Say, you know what? I want to travel, help people, whatever. Because you know what happens? The subconscious mind and the fears, they hate action.
Okay.
They hate it. Because when you're doing something, you're telling your subconscious mind that you're kind of like negating those fears. Those fears say, no, don't do it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it. And then they're like, but you are doing it. So we're not controlling you anymore because we didn't want you to do that, you know. And
Yeah.
if you do this every day, just a little bit, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute, and that's what Atomic Habits teach. I love the book. I read it, I think, this year. um, that's how you make changes over time. Incremental small changes, they compound, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It took years to be programmed with all the bullshit we get from our environment. We have to hear it 1,000 times. You're not good enough, you're not bad, we're not healthy enough, we're not
Yeah.
rich enough, whatever. You hear that, and it has a place, you know. And to change it, it's like, okay, what if I repeat something else 10,000 times? Okay, well, that might take me 3 years. It's okay. If it took me 25, whatever, 30, 40, 50, 60 years to become programmed like this, then I should give myself a few years to change. Not change it in a month. I don't think that's realistic, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I love it, and I hope that the listeners just took notes on the atomic habits and the exercises,
Yeah.
because I believe this is the core and the fundamental of in living a meaningful life. Just
Yeah.
having the routines and the habits that make you a better person. And I want to go back a little bit on the spirituality part,
Okay.
and ask you, how do you raise your consciousness? Because I believe that besides the doing and working in the hustle part, it's the being in the present moment and being conscious and understanding what's happening with you and inside your head.
Okay. Um, well, there's stuff you do every day, but that for me, I wouldn't say it's raising my consciousness. I would say more it's like keeping me on track and help. Maybe it is raising my consciousness, but it's not something observable. What I do is I'm a bit of a self-help junkie as well. So I would go to seminars, I would go to retreats, I would go to um, I went to Tony Robbins events. You know, those they're very high energy.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing one in a couple of weeks with a friend, and it's virtual now, but I know it's gonna give me an up level in a sense, you know. So if I go to one of those events when there's a lot of people and the very super good specialized, you know, teachers that kind of like push you to a next level, that for me is a way to up level in terms of consciousness. I also I went to events. I did ayahuasca with shamans in Peru. You know,
Okay.
I did Tony Robbins events. I did breath work in other parts of the world, whatever. So I would just Wim Hof, the ice bath things. Those are big. Those are huge. You know, like I would fill up my tub with cold water, and I close the light. It's like dark in my bathroom, and I put the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. And I'm not sure if you heard about them. It's
No.
like ancient writings from Thoth, the Atlantean, who's like he built the pyramids or whatever. It's I don't know if it's real or not, but I just like how he teaches. It's like he does old English and like, hey, you know, see old man, you know, you are part of light and dark. So I go and I sit in cold water and it's dark, and I am listening to that guy, and that for me is like up leveling my consciousness, you know,
Wow.
because it's uncomfortable as well.
Yeah.
But why should the dark be uncomfortable? Because people tell us, oh, the dark equals bad, it equals death, equals. It's not true, you know. We're in the dark when we form in the womb. So that for me is okay. Self help, you know,
Yeah.
self raising consciousness thing. But I would go to events. I would go to people that know stuff that maybe I don't know, or can facilitate things that can help me up level. Get a good team around you, you know.
Yeah. That's. I think that's the scariest and hardest part in building a business. How you did it for yourself. For law of attraction, I believe you have a team for that, right?
Oh yeah. In the beginning, I didn't like. For me, in the beginning, the social media thing was a bit of a joke. I don't like, because back then I was a chief operating officer in a Swiss company, and we were dealing with personal development and banking in gold and silver. So I was like, I got a job there, I got an opportunity, and I went huge into studying. I studied a lot of stuff. I can video edit, I know Photoshop, I know marketing, copywriting, some programming. I can build websites, I can do whatever. So I'm a bit of a one man show. Um, I don't. What was the question? Sorry.
The question is what? How do you build a team
How do
for
you
a
build a
project?
team?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, if you have business partners, you want to take a lot of time before actually getting into business with someone. Sometimes you get together with people and they're like, hey, let's build a company. And sometimes people start business like this. Let's build a team. Everyone's like, yeah, let's do it. And when things get tough, everyone's away. I don't have the time or I don't have. So what's important for me is to actually have a good relationship with the person that might be your partner, if we're talking about partners, and make sure that you become authentic to each other and make sure that you're in for the long run. That's very important, and you can trust each other. And make sure that you don't just build teams with people that are like you.
Okay.
Because look, if I'm more of a visionary guy, whatever, and I need a guy who's a programmer, I look at the guy who's a programmer and he's not excited or he's not like inspirational or whatever, but he has a certain way of doing things, which I might not feel it's nice.
Yeah.
You're boring. Your job is boring. Well, you
Yeah.
always sit and doing that, and he might think that my stuff is wacko or boring itself. So try to build things with people that complement you in a sense that like you might not like them to be your best bros, but usually your best bros are the people that are like you, and you might not build good teams together. And second, when you're recruiting people, I don't care about how much they know. I just care about how hungry they are. If I would talk to a person, I want to make sure I want to find out about their dreams. I want to find out about their goals. I want to find out about how their habits are, how their life is, if they're hiding something, if they have problems or whatever, because
Yeah.
some people do
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
lot of problems. And in my teams and in the people I work with, and things change from time to time. I used to have a lot of people in the team, now I have less and so on. But I was very close to the people in my team. I would go out with them. I would give them advice. I would get them to have like a heart-to-heart connection with the people in the team. And I don't believe in segregation. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm the boss, and I should be here, and I should stay in this room, and you're like
Okay.
whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think that. I think the person in my team should think that they can be the best, and they should, and I want to find ways to reward them because I want people to put their heart into what they do. Because they put their heart into what they do, then I know they might go home, and instead of like drinking beer and watching Netflix, they might start studying more to become a better person, and I want that. So yeah, right now my approach to building teams is like I'm building small shuttles. I say it, because in the online world, the advantage is that I can automatize a lot of things, and there's a lot of software and stuff. So I kind of like build small teams,
Yeah.
and I make sure that the people in the team are good, and I make sure that they have a plan for them to become financially independent, not just have a job there. I don't like just capping people on whatever.
Nice.
Yeah. But it depends on what kind of business people have, more
Yeah.
traditional, whatever, yeah.
But have you felt on this journey like ever like giving up? Because being consistent and doing this every day, and I think it's hard.
Yeah.
And I believe that everyone goes through the giving up part. So how it went for you?
Many times. I felt like giving up many times. Uh, it's interesting. I used to think when I got to Bucharest and, when I got into personal development, I used to think that if you just get enough money, you're just going to be happy forever. And I'm like, if you have a few thousand euros every month, then you're going to get happy. I was happier and more mental stable back then than I was when I had more money and more responsibilities and more stuff to do. And because I always challenged myself, sometimes I got into places where I burned myself out. I had depression a few times. I had adrenal fatigue syndrome a few times. So I think part of this entrepreneurial journey, I would say, is like accepting that from time to time you're gonna fall on your face. You're gonna maybe lose opportunities, or people you put faith in. They're gonna steal your money or whatever. It happened to me. So understanding that part of the evolution process means facing some fears, working with the shadow side, sometimes learning the hard way, because you learn the hard way. Like, hey, you should have some balance here and there. I never know what balance is. I just work myself into exhaustion, and then I went to the other side, and then back to the other side again, and I lost consistency, and I went down, and then I got depressed because I lost my momentum.
Yeah.
And now, after a few years, I'm like, okay, I'm pretty stable right now. But I'm stable now. Who knows, what my next challenge would be. And it's a bit of a game, you want to up level, you want to go and fight with the mini boss, and then you
Yeah.
beat the mini boss. It's happened in life as well. I don't think there's a. I used to read this book by Napoleon Hill, and he has a chapter on persistence. And I read
What
that
book?
chapter. It's called Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, okay.
It's a classic. So the guy he interviewed like 100 years ago, he interviewed 500 of the world's most successful people back then. People like Edison, mm, Ford, Alexander Graham Bell, Wrigley, who invented the gum and whatever.
Yeah.
So he said he has a chapter on persistence. He says this: sometimes it appears that there's an invisible guide whose duty is to test individuals through all sorts of discouraging experiences. He says those who pick themselves up after defeat and keep going arrive, and the world cries, "Bravo, I knew you could do it." So there's a test, okay? When bad things happen to me, I say, okay, this is the invisible guide whose duty is to test me through all sorts of discouraging experience. Okay, okay, okay. But when I would read that book in the beginning, I'm like, I don't want to. Can I just get the easy way there? But I don't think there's an easy way because it doesn't make sense to be an easy way. See, I think things like this. I'm not a big fan of preaching the law of attraction. Like a lot of people say, like, think positive and the universe is gonna make magic, and that's BS, and that's for people who are lazy. I think this. Look, I think everything in the world is organized. It might be very chaotic just because we think small and we don't understand it. I think there's a plan and patterns to everything, and I think this. Look, I am where I am right now because I have certain patterns, habits, things that I do, ways of doing things, actions, and so on. If I want to up level, then the universe needs to say, okay, well, this guy needs to up level. So he needs to rearrange stuff and make some room for me to get there. But for me to get there, I need a certain set of skills, character, strength, and so on. Otherwise, I'm not gonna fit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, if I go from here, lazy, no habits, whatever, semi-serious, to get here, how are those people that I want to be that have my goal? Well, serious, committed, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Then I have to go and face those
Yeah.
and get there. It's that's not a philosophy of mine. I didn't read it anywhere, but that's how I think. So if I want to up level, I want to get in a different league, I gotta be a different person. And we don't like to change. We gotta be comfortable. And that's not bad. It's like a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, the ego, like it's never gonna go away. Give the ego what it needs. If you have fears, give yourself some love. Talk with yourself. Because that ego has a survival mechanism inside of it,
Yeah.
and it wants to keep you safe. Because going after your dream might signal danger to your primitive brain. Staying safe with food and stuff like that. This is what the brain wants first. All the other stuff is just fancy stuff. The brain's like, yeah, you do your fancy stuff, but you give me what my basic necessities are. And if you don't, well, it's gonna fight a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I think I relate a lot to what you're saying. But how do you feel like when you have the law of attraction page, which is like self improvement and spirituality, and you face like on some days things that may just make you less than you are, or you just go through a lot of fears or things that make you not in the sense of what you're saying there,
Oh yeah.
because you said that you also feel things. How do you approach it in that moment? Because when you're in the self-development industry and you're not like you're saying, I think
Yeah.
you could easily feel like you're an
Yeah.
imposter.
The imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
right? Well, first of all, I know something from when I was working in sales, in personal development. I would sell over the phone to a lot of people. I knew that people need some help, and I know that I can inspire people, you know. And I can inspire people because I've been through stuff in my life, not because I've read certain books. So I know for sure that if I open an Instagram live, even if I'm not in my best shape possible, and I got this perfection thing out of it because it doesn't help, right? I know that I can be honest and open and talk to people as an honest, normal guy. And I know that if I'm vulnerable and if I talk to people, then, open up, then they're gonna accept me or not. That's their problem. And then I can talk from my experiences and I can talk from something that I think is authentic. And I can even say it. I'm like, look, guys, hey, I think I talk very openly on my Instagram. I didn't used to because I grew up with this image that you have to be perfect. That's very old school personal development. But I just, do my best to be authentic and to just put it out there. And people are pretty usually nice. Like I had Instagram lives on. I was actually on my personal page on Tiberius Live, and I started talking about when I was depressed, and I was depressed, and I was like 16 kilograms, like 30 pounds overweight, and I would smoke weed on the weekends and eat a lot, and I had a personal trainer, like he would he would leave me on Friday, and I had maybe
When was that?
90 kilo, maybe 2015,
Okay.
2016. I went through some stuff there, and I was getting allergies and asthma and whatever, and I would so I would go on Monday. So on Friday I had 90 kilograms. On Monday I would have 95.
Wow.
And my trainer was like, what happened? And the thing is that like I was in some very toxic partnerships, with my business, and I didn't know how to deal with them, in that company I was part of, and a lot of things that I wasn't congruent with, and I didn't know how to handle it, and I put it all on myself, and I would blame myself and beat myself up a lot, and I, I I started talking about it in my lives. I'm like, look, I used to do this.
And
And
how you got out of it?
I
Of
just got
the.
out of it by having, well, one thing that helped me get out was I got very sick, first of all. That made me reconsider things. I'm like, look, this has to come second, this whole business thing, because I'm in trouble. Okay, that's one thing. And then I had people that had expertise and they helped me get out of my mental, scenarios and patterns. But yeah, and well, you know what's funny? So I had this moment when I was talking about this in my Instagram lives, and I don't know, people don't talk about smoking weed and stuff on usually on their
Mm-hmm.
lives, but I did. And then someone calls me, messages me, he's like, I want to talk a bit with you. And he's like a, a huge guy in the business of personal development, huge. He's not necessarily a big like a speaker promoter. He does some of that, but he's like business marketing development. He's top. And he's like, look, like I'm going through the same thing. Like I heard you on that live, and I want to talk to you. It's a huge guy. And I'm like, oh fuck, man, like okay. So I talked to him. I was like, okay, well, tell me what's going on. And like, says, all this and this, and I'm like, okay. And I gave him some really good advice from my own life that I didn't read in any book. And that guy read more books than me, for sure. He has like 1,000 things, like 1,000 ebooks in his Audible, and I'm not joking. And 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 I I helped that guy. I helped him because he didn't know how to deal with that, and he's more personal developmentized than I am, in a certain sense, and then
Uh-huh.
more experienced and whatever. So yeah, just believe in your message and believe you have something to say, and believe, also understand that you're human, and all this perfection bullshit is going away. All these people on stage trying to be perfect and everything and flashing things, and
Mm-hmm.
that's going away. People like people that are authentic. And for me, like when we did over probably 140 Instagram lives this year, and when the pandemic started, my whole intention was this, like, look, there's people on the front line, nurses, doctors, whatever, dealing with this, right? I'm in my home. What can I do? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go there and create an environment for people to feel that they're not alone, to feel that they're not the only one going through this, and to feel that there's some love. And everything else happened from there. And the
Mm-hmm.
people I got to connect with, and I didn't even like, out of maybe 50 people that were on my show, some of them top in the field, maybe I purposefully messaged five. The rest of them just came like, hey, this guy Tiberius, I don't know, like, blah. They recommend each other and so on. But I just wanted for people to know like, hey, you know what? Come here, just talk, express yourself, whatever, like this is how my Instagram lives are. They're not about me. The page is not about me, If you have something to say, come and say it. Let's do something. I don't care. I don't even want that type of attention, And I tell people, I'm like, look, I might go off for a year, and you might not see me for a year, I might need to do some stuff, and like what's important for me is my life. I gotta figure out my stuff. Of course, if I figure out my stuff, then I will be in a better position to give and share more. But I want to get back depressed, and I know I get depressed if I don't follow my heart. So, you know,
That's so true.
yeah,
Because I've been like last year through the same thing, and I'm kind of dealing with like it's hard to keep your focus when it's this whole pandemic thing.
yeah.
I believe, and I'm like to end this in very specific way. How what's your advice for people, in especially young people nowadays? In the pandemic, to just keep their focus and take care of themselves and their mental health.
Okay. Well, first of all, I would see. I see social media as I see myself as a provider in social media, not a consumer. I think social media messes up our head, and I've had problems because of social media. Wanted to answer to a lot of people, wanted to be too supportive, I would say. So I would make sure that you're not addicted to social media, in a sense that you don't just go unconsciously and go on Facebook or whatever. I would uninstall the apps that are crap. I mean, and when I'm saying are crap, I'm like, well, when you go on social media, is it feeding you something good, or is it feeding you something that's detrimental to you? All this sensationalism, all this stuff. That's one thing. So I would clean that up. I would
Yeah.
make sure that what I'm getting through is something that I truly appreciate, and that's healthy for me. Second, I would start hiding the buttons in my phone. So if I go to my phone and I open it, I have to go and I have to do some things so I can get on Instagram, because I used to just find myself on Instagram. Like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
So now I don't. Maybe I'm there like for 40 minutes a day or something, and considering that people actually write to me and stuff. So I chunk my time well. I would say empathy is another important thing to understand during the current times. So like, have empathy towards yourself, understanding that we are dealing with some things that are not normal, and those get into us. So
Yeah.
let's not beat ourselves up if we're not the most productive people possible. In the same time, let's have empathy over people around us, because we might be like, hey, you know what, it's a pandemic, you should be like top. Like, you know what, you have no idea what people are going through, and people aren't usually honest. They don't want
Yeah.
to put their whatever bad stuff on other people, so they say, hey, I'm great and whatever. Then they can be depressed.
Yeah.
I had people like they messaged me like, whoa, you know what, I used to be so depressed and I wanted to kill myself and so on, and like, you helped me 5 years ago when you gave me some advice. I'm like, you were like the happiest person in the room. Like, what the fuck, and they're like, yeah, but I can smile very well, but I was suicidal. So let's mind our own thing, and let's show love and empathy and understanding towards people around us, because we have no idea what they're going through. We rarely find out what they're going through. And just take time for yourself. Like, if you're working on a project that takes 1 hour, but you're like agitated and like, oh, and you end up not doing it, say, you know what, I'm gonna sit with this for 6 hours. This takes half an hour. I'm agitated. I'm gonna just go and sit with it. I'm gonna do a bit now and a bit later, and I'm gonna get it done in 6 hours. Just expand on that a bit, because it works. You're gonna get it done eventually.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and just read good books. There's Amazon, Audible, whatever. You can find good reviews. Go and do some. There's some strength tests, some quizzes that teach you stuff about yourself. Learn about yourself. Just start meditating. Get sunshine. Get your vitamin D. That's important. I think a lot of problems that people have, especially depression, is not because of traumas or whatever. It's because of their poor nutrition.
Yeah.
our body was designed to work in a certain way, not to live in a box with no sunshine and with all that bullshit food we feed it, you know. So learn more about proper nutrition and you know, start buying some good food. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice that I hope everyone just took notes and start applying in their life.
Yeah.
Thank
And believe it's possible.
Oh yes, this is such a nice conclusion of all the whole podcast. Thank you so much, Tiberius, for coming to the show and sharing your wisdom with the listeners. I'm so grateful for you and for our conversation. And for those listening, just keep go and follow the page and Tiberius Live and the Law of Attraction Live, of course.
Yeah.
And just
I'm looking forward to have you on Law of Attraction Live sometime soon.
Thank you.
Set that up.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Guys, thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow also Elevate Her. And we also do have community group right now, so you can go on Facebook and check Elevate Her podcast community, so we can talk more about self-improvement, spirituality, entrepreneurship, and anything that can make you a better person. Thank you so much.